We're recording. Hi everyone, I'm Piper J. Drake, and we are in session 0.75, which is still a planning session. What we wanted to do, since Gabriel could not be here with us today, was answer questions about character sheets and maybe talk about a few topics that we didn't really get a chance to dive into deeply, if at all. Like, for example, advantages and flaws. Blah, 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 convictions and touchstones. I think I'm going straight with the OBS recording only and not the Zoom, so thank you for that. But I'm going to let everyone on the call introduce themselves to you. So we're going to start with Katee. Go.
Hi, I am Katee Robert. I write dark erotic romance. I published a metric shit ton of books and am happily settled in dirty retellings is my niche.
Yeah, it is.
It's a good niche.
It's an awesome niche. Sarah?
Okay, my name is Sarah Hawley. I write romance and I write fantasy romance and co-host the Wicked Wildflowers Club podcast with Jenny, who you will meet shortly on the screen somewhere. I might be pointing at her, I might not.
No.
That way.
Never mind. No,
Hey,
it was
got
right.
You had it.
Mine's backwards.
And
Oh, that's
Jenny.
me.
Yeah.
I am Jenny Nordbak. I am author of romance. I also narrate dirty books, and I co-host two podcasts. One is The Wicked Wallflowers with Sarah, and the other is called Bonkers Romance.
I have yet to listen to an episode of Bonkers Romance, but I wanna.
So good.
Katie's episode comes out tomorrow, and it's,
Oh shit! I did not. I'm gonna send you a video
tentacles.
today. I forgot. I'm gonna write myself a note. I had a checklist. My bad.
On that note, Cooper.
Hi, yeah, Cooper. I don't write romance, at least not primarily, only short stories ever. And yeah, glad to be here for session 0.75. It's my first time saying that sentence before, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, let's go.
New goal to convince Cooper to write romance.
Yeah, also,
Right.
Cooper,
I mean,
you
short
could tell
stories
everyone
already.
what you do, right?
I mean, it's 4v1. The odds are in your favor.
We're pretty persuasive when our
It's a
powers
great
are
subplot
combined.
device. I've done that before too. Does that count?
Romantic elements are something we can talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
But to Sarah's point, you could talk about what you do, right?
I write mostly like dark, sentimental fantasy would be the most common thing that I do. With my current thing that I'm doing is like a high fantasy on Amazon's Kindle Vella program.
And what's it called?
Call Her Leviathan.
So the first time I ever heard Cooper use the word Leviathan, it was unrelated to the story. We were in a reunion Zoom for writing excuses, and he was playing a video game,
God.
Subnautica,
Yeah.
while a
yeah.
bunch of us were in the chat.
Yeah.
And all of a
Okay.
sudden, we were talking about food, or we might have been making sexual innuendos. It happened. Both things happen when I'm facilitating the room, and all of a sudden he just jumps out of his seat, and everybody in the chat just stops and is like watching him in the Zoom window. And he's like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I just ran into another Leviathan," and I was just like,
That's fine. Yeah.
Was it?
I don't think that's quite how that went. At least not how I recollect. But
It's the story now.
that's fine. Your version is more fun, anyways.
what I remember is you jumping. I don't remember. I think it was we were talking about
I
Leviathans
believe
regarding the
you
game.
like mentioned the word Leviathan, which triggered a recent memory in me, and I was like, "Holy shit!" So there was this thing that happened, and I was at the bottom of the ocean, and it was terrifying. That's basically how that went. Yeah.
You still encountered something that terrified you during the talk, though. So I conflated, probably.
I don't know. I don't remember that
Distinctly
part.
remember you jumping and
Okay.
making everybody else in the room jump. We're all like, "What? What happened?"
The
Which is what I
storyteller's
called
word is law.
I
You
mean,
just
yeah,
have to roll with it now.
That's true.
yes, literally, and actually, that's a great segue because Storyteller, which I am for Vampire the Masquerade, word is law. However, we are all telling a story together, and so I want you to take liberties and not worry about the letter of the rules of the game so much. If you can convince me that it'll make a better story, I'm very likely to accept it as the storyteller. Just gonna say that. So, with that in mind, and I know you all had some questions or had some discomfort around your character sheets and whether they were ready yet, hit me with your questions. We'll go unstructured first because I think I want to address any burning questions.
I actually don't know if I have any questions. I did
have any.
do
I'm
a
just like,
minor overhaul of my character. Overhaul makes it sound more dramatic. I added a vaporwave aesthetic component to my character that I thought was a
Vaporwave? What's that?
vaporwave. It's a musical / aesthetic, like late 80s, early 90s plastic, really washed out neon pinks and blues sort of look. A lot of like idealistic retro vibe. I'll send you a video.
Good.
Imagery works for me. Interesting. I'm super.
I do have a question as in regards to like playing mechanics.
Mhm.
Because I'm watching the LA by Night podcast
Yeah.
or whatever. And with the blood, I understand the blood dice that if you like do a crit fail or whatever with the blood dice, your hunger goes up.
Mhm.
I don't. Do they just act like other normal dice in like if it's not a crit fail?
Yes. As long
Okay.
as there's not a crit fail, then it's a success or failure as part of your dice pool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I will.
I am
We'll get there.
hurriedly opening up my my core book so that I can confirm that I'm right.
Because I'm just trying to like osmosis as much as like just the generic stuff. Because they ask a lot of questions, which I appreciate. Because then I'm like, oh, that's a question that I would have, and now I kind of know the answer.
Yeah, I like
theoretically.
that. And that's the thing is like this is pretty. Don't feel like we have to be perfect. Like I sent you a couple of videos of some ones because the energy between the characters was hysterical and fun,
Mhm.
while still being kind of the dark, kind of twisty vampire feel. And that's the example that I want for you. But don't feel like you have to meet that standard of acting level.
No,
So also, question on gameplay, because having only ever done Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of it is like, oh, well, my character is going to do this. It wasn't in character all the time.
Mhm.
Whereas the link you sent was amazing, where it was basically the storyteller is narrating, and then everything is done in character in terms of dialogue. Is that also kind of what we're doing? Like, we are just going to be on all the time?
I'd like for us to be on most of the time. If you want to
Cool.
fall out of character to ask me a question as player to GM, go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Just say like,
Hey, GM.
from Sarah to Piper.
Yeah.
So like first person or third person? Like I do this, or like Evangeline does this.
I think third person works, but
Okay.
whatever comes to you naturally, I will probably understand. But basically, this is Katee asking Piper.
Yeah. Well, no, I definitely
In terms of
understand like the word.
actions,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
like I feel like I'd be inclined to be like, oh, I'm gonna go investigate that sort of
Oh, yeah.
like that.
Go ahead and go drop
Or
right into first person.
She
if
is
you're
going to.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
naturally what I fall into, is what Sarah's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay,
if you're
that's
a
what I
It was
character-
most pronounced with the Russian character.
Yes!
And because she would do her full accent and clearly be acting, and then you could tell she would drop the accent to ask a question
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then go right back into character. So that was when I was like, oh, okay, this is the difference. Like that helped
Yeah.
Yeah,
make it really
because
pronounced.
one of my the only D&D podcast I listen to right now, they have like, hey, this is out of game, I have a question, or like out of character question, like clarification or like whatever.
Yeah, and
So-
you can say out of character too, I'll understand. A
Yeah.
great example of that kind of gameplay was last night's Typecast RPG. We were doing a one-shot of Call of Cthulhu. And
That's such a gnarly freaking.
well, we took out, like, it's Call of Cthulhu Light because it's a one-shot. It's only across 2 sessions. But you'll notice that Dongwon Song is playing a character Marley, and there's times when Dongwon is very clearly Marley, like playing a batty old woman who's also an occultist, and then all of a sudden pops and goes, "This is actually a question for Marley," and just as Dongwon is asking a question about a thing, and like if
Yeah.
you watch that typecast, you'll see like we're in and out. I'm not doing an accent at all. There's one point where Howard Taylor is doing like what's the Looney Tunes character, Foghorn Leghorn? is that his name? The big rooster that's
That's
I say, I say.
Oh,
That's Foghorn.
So
that's
Howard
fantastic.
is practicing that accent for reasons I will not tell you. However, he was using that for his character in last night's one shot,
That's so
and
good.
unfortunately, Marley is supposed to have some kind of Brooklyn accent, and keeps like swinging into the Southern accent because trying to talk to Howard's character. And there's just one point where we all crack up, and Dong Wan is like, "Dang it!" So, typecast is probably a really good example of the gameplay. Like, I'm okay if you talk to me as player, TTM, or storyteller, and I'm also okay and love it if you get into your character and start to roleplay your character, particularly in conversations. Like, you don't have to have an accent. I'm not a person who does accents, but if your manner and your facial expressions as you're having conversations between characters will be great. And also, if you have a touchstone who's an NPC that I decide that we're going to encounter in the game, I will probably invite you to roleplay your own NPC. So, Cooper, for example, you had mentioned that you have an NPC that you would probably take as a character if Marche died. Well, take them as an NPC, make them a touchtone, and you could potentially end up playing that character as if the group encounters the NPC.
Sure. Okay, we'll see. I'm still kind of up in the air about whether or not to include them or not, but yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. So, that being said, NPCs, in particular, each of you will have picked between 1 and 3 convictions, and for each conviction, you should have a touchstone, a human, who is kind of the embodiment of what that conviction means to you. Like, they themselves, their personality, or that your relationship with them is kind of the embodiment of what that conviction is to you. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the convictions and touchstones that you chose. For example, Cooper, you don't have your touchstones and convictions in the little box on the character sheet of the copy I have, unless you've uploaded a new one.
There should have been a new one uploaded yesterday or the day before.
And did you do it in the Google Drive, or is it on the Discord?
I believe I put it in the Google Drive, but now
Okay.
let me double check.
No, let me look. I didn't look before. All right.
Are they supposed to be? And I might have put my convictions in the Chronicle tenets. I wasn't clear on what the difference between those two was.
The Chronicle tenets is like what we decide, right?
Okay,
like as a
so
group.
they're like, we're
Is
not
that am
gonna-
I wrong? Is that right?
No, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh.
so I need to move mine over.
Yeah, I
Okay.
put my convictions there too, because
Okay.
there
And
doesn't
then-
seem like enough room on those.
Are my
lines.
convictions supposed to be like moral, ethical, right?
That
Ow.
you're still holding on to, because
So
you're not
one
that
of
far
mine-
from humanity.
One of mine is
Okay.
better a sweet lie than a harsh truth, which is not a good thing. Like, it's not
But it
a
is a
good thing to
conviction.
be, but it's just like, it's more like to guide your role play and to like decide how you act in certain situations because you have these convictions that like are who you are as like a character or whatever.
Well, I had thrown the ends justify the means in there.
Yeah,
And
like
that's
that.
still
that's
That
that's
would
a
guide
legit
him, but
conviction.
it's not. Okay,
Yeah.
like,
It's legit.
it's not the best part of humanity that I would be holding to.
They don't have to be
Well,
good
sure,
things,
but like
they're still
humanity's not
human.
good.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
I would argue that there's a lot more ambiguous about humanity than truly good about humanity. I'm
I
here
mean,
for
it's-
the convictions that could like
yeah.
be double-edged
And then
swords.
suddenly this swerved into a philosophy podcast.
But
Surprise!
true.
So then, like, for that, I would then have a human person
That
that I
kind of-
associate that
yeah.
like kind
So-
of
that kind of stands for that or embodies that conviction.
okay.
Or like influenced you to have that conviction.
Yes.
I have so mine is I've got two, and one is about animals, which yeah, she likes those, but one is that family matters a lot, and to me she hasn't had that. She's looking for that family matters and like that loyalty, and she'll be blindly loyal to her constructed family because she's been seeking that. And so her touchstone is not someone that she was ever in a family with or anything like that. It happens to be the bodega owner over like the street
Sure.
over that she goes in there sometimes, and he's fostered this atmosphere of like loving and belonging. And
That's
she's still an
excellent.
outsider to that. personally. And I don't know, maybe this is wrong, but like my touchstone is not someone where I have that connection with that person. It's that person being the ideal of that thing I'm still looking for.
That's
and that thing I'm going to
interesting.
project on all of you as like, are you my daddy? Like one of her drives is that, but there's not a human example in her personal life that does that. So she sees someone in the neighborhood and goes, I want that belonging. And so I don't know, maybe that's not great because it's not like a deep
that's
personal
perfect.
connection.
No, that's
And honestly,
very good.
Okay.
I love that because we both have like family, like, because mine is her sister is like, it's like anything for family, but it's like the family is so finite and so specific to her sister, specifically only her sister, not anybody else. So it's like such a cool contrast with like your character that's like looking for this like to gather like the found family, and my character's like fuck everybody.
Oh yeah, and my character is going to make all sorts of mistakes just being like anything for family. Daddy? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do we know each other yet?
Nope. You're gonna meet each other in session 1.
Okay.
Okay.
I will have a reason for it. You're gonna meet each other in session 1. You're gonna have decisions about each other in session 1, and that's gonna be fun. I have plans and surprises.
I'm very excited.
I'm hoping it'll be great. Actually, I'm actually rather nervous.
I think
Should we
it'll.
know anything about that, or do you want us to go in like truly blind?
Oh, I'm gonna take you in blind. It's gonna be fun.
Good.
Like it.
Cool. Who's yours, Jenny? Do you have people yet or touchstones?
I have kind of like now that I understand what the connection is supposed to be, yeah, I mean, I feel like the ends justify the means. There's probably someone in his herd that he, like his entourage of kind of worshippers, that he has probably done something reasons, and like that, it's like, it justifies it because he did what he had to do. I mean, that makes him sound noble, and I don't think there's actually a lot of nobility going on there, but it can be semi-selfish in that, like, she's his favorite or something.
Yes.
When it could be just like, if it was noble in that, or not noble, but like noble-ish adjacent in that scenario, but it's like he learned the lesson, and now he's like, well, that applies to everything, and it doesn't have to be noble.
Yeah. Like you can
Or it
play
could
with
be a noble thing that your character is doing anything they can do to say that's not a noble thing. I did that for my own selfish reasons, but secretly there's a connection or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of our vampire characters is lying to ourselves and others.
Absolutely.
At least mine, personally.
And it's an interesting thing to be able to develop a character and tell a story with a character who's kind of an unreliable narrator about their self-awareness, right?
Or just even unreliable in the way that they present themselves to the group, because like one of my convictions is like, because her ex-girlfriend, like, she went into college, hoity-toity silver spoon, but like gifted everything on a platter, and like her ex-girlfriend kind of like ripped away those like rose-tinted glasses a little bit and like ripped her heart out a little bit, and through various reasons, and then she learned like I would rather have like the sweet truth than like, or the sweet lie than the harsh truth, because the harsh truth sucks. I would rather like, let's gloss this over, throw some money at it, and like, I don't want that harsh reality. That sucks. And so she would rather lie than like say something that's like
And that's going to inform how she's going to interact with not only the players, but anybody you encounter.
Yep.
And that's gonna be fun. I'm excited. So yeah, did anybody pick more than one conviction and more than one touchstone?
I
picked 2, but
2, and you 2.
One of them is like the
2,
animal shelter lady and never harm an animal, which is just the basic thing. The family issues are more of a compelling.
I'm sorry, Jenny, I didn't quite hear you.
Oh, I said I wrote a second one, but it was more about like his divinity, so it doesn't really need to be there if it is better to keep it simple.
And you could, and this is the thing, is through gameplay, you could gain or lose touchstones along the way. And as your convictions might change through gameplay,
And the conviction of wanting divinity could also, the touchstone could be someone that
died.
they hate hate and envy and all of that. The person that symbolizes that goal.
Yeah.
It's like, how often have we seen a character for whom, this person symbolized everything that was good and pure and blah, blah, blah. And when that person died, their soul died. And so they just decided to become this person who is completely merciless, right? Not necessarily evil, but definitely merciless. Because there was no summer in their lives anymore.
Katie's got something to say.
I'm like, or alternatively, it could be like almost like a nemesis situation, like the mirror that you had that made you better, and like like a Sherlock and Moriarty kind of situation, and then they like that sort of situation, like
I'm here
where
for the enemy relationship arc too. Yes,
right, because that's still a
Katie,
touchstone.
I hate to say this, but I mean, he's like a poor boy who was awkward and has like gathered that power, and I feel like you represent everything that he sort of hated because you've had everything handed to you and he's had to like carve it out with his bare hands.
Well, he's so like ostentatious that my character is gonna be like, ew. Like, like just like it also represents everything that she is like, that's so declassé, and like, look at you making like a spectacle of yourself. Like, why are you standing out? Yeah. So it's gonna be really interesting.
Yeah, and let that come through. Like, let that chemistry come through and make your decisions that way. It's gonna be.
I think the group dynamics are going to be really, really awesome because, like, I feel like my character too and Coop's character are like also opposites in a different way, and it's just I'm really excited to like poke at all the things.
My character is going to be very stressed out about everything that's happening.
Meanwhile, Gabriel's character is going to be crying every time he feeds on a rat.
Oh my god, that made me like.
I literally kind of teared up.
It's like he's gonna cry every time he eats.
And I'm not going to be a very nice person
I
about
can't
what I'm
wait to watch him act that out.
And my character's gonna be like, what? Like, it's hard? Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you making it be so dramatic? God, she's such an asshole. I'm so excited.
And the other thing about it, and my challenge as a storyteller, is to give these situations that I have thought up and hope to put you in, and wonder if you're all going to stay together as a group or not.
Well, and like it's going to be an interesting challenge for you, I think, to like, because there's so many like potentially conflict points with the group, to like give us a conflict big enough that forces us to like or orchestrates a situation where we're like, well, I don't really like you, but I think we'll work together for this one time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Which is another reference to Leverage, aside from earlier today when we were talking before the recording started. But yeah, that'll be an interesting thing. Like, I am definitely excited about that. So that's Chronicles and that's Touchstones, if you want to think about it. I do invite you, if you would love for your touchstone to be somebody we meet, I do invite you to at least start a character sheet for that NPC. It doesn't have to be as detailed. Like, don't even bother with any of the skills, the attributes, or anything. Just the history, the background. Tell me about it.
For our touchstones to be NPC. Okay.
Yeah.
So
like,
I do have a question.
Any of the attributes and stuff.
That feel free to tell me no, or like no, or like that you won't tell me anything. But like you had mentioned at one point that we were in a new city. If that's the case, how would our touchstones be there if they were from our? Okay. So I was just I guess there will be reasons that they'd be there, but
exactly.
Okay.
And you could end up being the reason, right? Like, could end up calling them.
Not my baby sister. Leave her alone. She needs to stay.
Oh no.
Sister, you say.
Right? Listen.
I'm just saying that it may not be the storyteller that brings them into the city. But especially if you would love to interact with your NPC and love to have the entire group interact with the NPC and see what happens.
Oh God.
Create an NPC character sheet. Don't worry about any of the abilities or any of the complicated stuff. Just to write me a history, a background, and give me like a concept of what of their
like
beliefs.
Would it be helpful to be like, this is a character like this character in this show? Like, that's the vibe they give?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what I'm interested in is like, how would they? Because and full warning, I will invite you probably to play your NPC when we encounter them.
And see, this is why I don't want to include that character, because I don't want to play what is essentially Fix-It Felix from Wreck-It Ralph on this podcast.
Oh!
But that's what I would do. I would if anything happens to Marche, my next character would be something to that effect. Just like a very supremely, almost obnoxiously positive character, like Ted Lasso energy.
But I really liked that relationship.
Ted Lasso
arc.
vampire. Oh, I need it.
It's like, be right back. I'm writing this down.
It's like,
I know, as soon as I had the thought, I was like, shit, should I get rid of Marche and do this instead? This could be fun. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm already attached to Marche, so.
I'm glad that you're attached to your characters.
We'll see.
Sorry.
I am. I'm going to be real sad if she dies terribly.
We're gonna see what happens. We're definitely.
Listen,
gonna see
she's
what
so damn hoity-toity. Somebody might murder her up, and she probably deserve it. So.
I mean, she has good chances of vampire survival.
Yeah.
Can I ask questions?
Yes,
or
ask questions.
Are you like on a path?
No, go for it.
For merits and flaws, it said 7 merits, 2 flaws, but I don't understand what the dots are doing in each of those things. Like, I arbitrarily put dots.
It's actually
dice?
7 dots. 7 dots in merits and 2 dots in flaws.
Do they function as like dice though? Like you get those dice if like for example linguistics, like is that like
they could function as dice. I have to look that up. Give me a second. But also, yeah. So for example, when Sarah asked a similar question about looks, for example, I said if you have 2 dots in looks or up to, you can get a bonus roll bonus dice to your socials where appropriate. Whereas if you have under a certain number of points, then you don't get that bonus to your social, and it's noted in the core book.
So if you only pick 1 dot in beauty, you eventually, as you level up, might be able to add the second dot? Is that the purpose of the first dot?
Sorry for the uplighting from my my iPad, but that happened.
I also do have a question with like in relation to merits, because one of my merits is feeding bloodhound, which means they can sense the resonance of the blood of the people before we drink or something. I think,
and that's important. So resonance is kind of
is that something that we can like know beforehand, or is that something we'll just learn in game, like how resonance works?
So let's explore that too. But let me look at merits and flaws first, and then let's explore that, because I think that's
I just realized I didn't update my merits and flaws at all, other than the 2 that I always had in there. So I'll have to do that as well.
7, yeah, I did do 7. Okay, God, counting's hard.
7.
Counting's hard.
7.
So 7 and then 2, or 7 and 3?
What?
7 and 2, but also,
Okay.
Katee, you and I have the 3 dots in context from Alley Cat.
Yeah, because of your feeding.
Which I put in backgrounds. Is that a merit? I guess it doesn't. I guess it's
no,
all like right there.
it's you add it in the merit.
Oh,
yeah, you add it in the merit.
Oh, because backgrounds had a drop down with context, and I thought that's what it was. So
depending on this character sheet, because I think that you and Sarah used 2 different character sheets.
That would do. I mean, I guess the information's there. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
because
I'm like, I don't know. Looking at it more than me.
I guess with context criminal, I guess my criminal context would be like probably like some high-end drug dealers. like that's the one that would I think make the most sense.
You're a snow bunny.
Mm-hmm. Or at least have associated with snow bunnies.
Wait,
I feel
I'm
like my
not
ex-girlfriend
familiar
probably
with the term
was.
Snow bunny.
Cocaine.
Oh, see, the only thing I know about is cocaine hippos right now.
See,
What is a cocaine hippo?
It is exactly what it sounds like.
Hippos doing cocaine?
For drug trafficking.
Like up the butt? Or like down the mouth? Where are they putting the cocaine in the hippos?
Where aren't they putting? No, I actually have. This is the first I've heard.
I'm not. I haven't.
I feel like
read...
that's a very dangerous creature to be using for trafficking.
It is.
Right? Like they will kill you.
But also, nobody's gonna fuck with them to be like, do you have cocaine in you?
Exactly. I mean,
is it in their butt?
I mean, it could be, but also for females, they
that would be my guess.
uterus.
I actually don't know, but that tracks.
Cocaine hippo. I will Google it.
I'm
I'd
just
go
seeing
in-
everybody's faces go
Everybody's like,
blank as they start
Excuse me,
searching.
start searching for this. I know that with racehorses, they put it in the female's uterus.
Really?
Yes.
Does it make them go faster, or just for smuggling?
Smuggling.
Ah.
Well, there was
There's-
also a TV
there's
show
a
that had them
vagina.
smuggling diamonds in the horse's uterus.
That doesn't seem
They
safe.
do that a lot.
Yeah, they do.
What? Who does that a lot? Katee, and how do you know about it?
I don't want to sign anything. Well, I just mean like the smuggling in the uterus kind of thing. Like, of course they do.
Oh,
Wait, how are they getting it in the uterus?
Right?
Versus
I mean,
Or like, I guess
for a
the
the
horse,
uterus
it's
is not
a
a
lot
like a
easier
cervix.
than it is a human.
With deliberation.
Like,
The-
for a
the
horse, you
only-
can actually stick your hand up there. So,
there's not like the
Small
cervix.
bag.
that
I
has
didn't
to
even know there
dilate. You
were
can, like-
hippos in Colombia.
Does a horse have a cervix?
apparently they were in a zoo.
Question.
Like, somebody had a personal zoo in Colombia for said hippos.
I'm being educated. This is
Who
so
apparently
interesting.
have been given citizens' rights, so they're not allowed to be euthanized, but they have been sterilized so they can't continue to reproduce because they're considered an invasive species.
Yeah.
Wait, who is?
The
The
hippos
hippos.
In Colombia.
The drug
Mhm.
hippos.
that have been liberated
Drug
and have
hippos.
reproduced in a new promised land. Apparently, are an
Can
invasive
you like
species.
please introduce like a sentient drug hippo vampire to our plot line?
Look, there's
They're
apparently
people,
meth
Piper.
crocodiles too. I
That
don't
makes
really know
sense.
what the
That
story
makes
is
sense.
behind the meth crocodiles, but somebody said something about meth crocodiles, and I was like,
Man, if you get close enough to a crocodile to stuff meth up its butt, like I am impressed.
I don't like
Or are they on meth?
lizard reptilian anatomy is a little bit different, right? Like, don't they have cloacas?
It is different.
Wait, who has cloacas? Who?
I thought that certain reptiles had cloacas, not, like the traditional anus, vagina, urethra situation.
I could
Those-
probably
Listen,
ask
we're
my
about to have a
6-year-old and get the answer to this, but
Does an alligator have a vagina?
He
We're
knows.
learning.
all the
mean-
things about all the animals.
Woo! Alligators are always erect, is what Google is telling me right now.
That's
Oh,
kind of
Here's
important.
my fun fact that I shared with Katee. Did you know elephants have prehensile penises?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
And it's a really long fifth limb. By the way, getting them to reproduce in zoo factors requires two men. One with a net underneath said prehensile penis and like chasing it around as it's doing its thing, and
Like a
one with its
butterfly?
hand up his butt stimulating the prostate. Have seen it. Done.
I've learned so much about animal anatomy this week. I learned that kangaroos have 2 penises and 3 vaginas.
Yes.
What?
I'm not sure
Yeah.
why it's 2 and 3. Like, that doesn't seem
I
to
don't
make
know,
sense to me.
because I had a TikTok video go viral, and then I was like it showed up on my husband's like TikTok because my videos do occasionally, and he's just like, and I was like, look, it's based in science because some reptiles have 2,
Yes.
and I was like, and
Anything.
kangaroos too, and then he did a Google, and he's like, they have 3 uteruses, like that's weird. And he's like, they
Did he
can be
not
pregnant.
encounter the echidna where it's 1 penis, but it's 4 heads, and only 2 are,
They're-
working at a
Don't they
time?
have like weird spikes and shit?
The
Echidnas?
animal
That's different.
kingdom is a magical place.
Poor
I know there's,
Echidnas
there's
have-
some kind of
spikes on the
duck or mallard
outside
where
of
it's
their
like a
back, but not on
corkscrew.
Oh, I thought they
Do
also
not
had, like,
get Sarah
the-
started on ducks. Sarah will
They
disturb
have
you with the
that's
ducks.
the 4 heads. The 4 heads. And the ducks,
I am not
I'm sorry,
over it.
terrible labyrinth,
regret
like,
bringing it up
corkscrew
already.
penises.
They do.
Yeah,
they
that's
do.
what I
Yes,
said,
the
yeah.
corkscrew
Also,
penises.
okay,
horrifying.
okay. Fun fact, trivia question. What animal has the longest penis compared to their body?
Aardvark.
Nope.
Blue whale? No.
No.
I mean,
Oh,
That's more like
Compared to their
air
body.
refueling.
orca?
This
Compared to their
dick
body.
is 10 times their body length.
What?
So they have a very small body.
I'm thinking a snail, but I'm wrong.
It's
Share.
probably something like
It's a-
that.
Barnacle.
Oh,
are
yeah, because
stuck to
they
the
like,
hulls
they
of
stick to
boats,
the boat, and
and
then they
their
just like,
dick-
whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah.
Sure.
But that's an invertebrate.
Also, I'm looking for my animal sex book. I'll be right back because it sounds like Jenny's making it sound like I just like know all these facts, which I do, but I have a source.
You,
I have a
But
there's
she
a
also
reason
has a
why you
book.
have this information floating inside your head.
Listen, that's very
Her
useful.
saying that she
That's-
has an animal sex book is the least surprising thing I've heard all day.
Yeah. On somebody's character sheet, I don't remember whose, I think their blood potency was at 3, which confused me because I thought all of our blood
you all
potency
had
was at
1.
1. And maybe I looked at it wrong, but then I was like,
No.
wait, is this a thing I'm supposed to be figuring out?
No,
But we're
what
all
you
at
have
one,
to do,
right?
One.
your blood potency should be 1.
Those pandas are having
Those
a
are
good time.
pandas.
Yes.
Have you seen the meme about how do Stegosauruses have sex? And the longer you look at the picture, the more confusing it gets.
No. Do share.
So think about what a Stegosaurus looks like. They have the spines that go up in their back.
Oh,
So they're like, what position would they be in that makes it tenable for them to procreate?
I would
Sideways?
assume maybe it's an
I
external
feel like they'd have to be on their
fertilization.
sides.
They would, yeah. That's what I thought as well, Piper. I was like, they'd have to be on their sides? Would be my
But they
guess.
might not have had penetrative sex, right? Like
True. I mean,
a lot of reptiles.
think about
and
it.
things don't.
Tortoises have similar awkward situations, and what ends up happening is the male tortoise has prehensile hello snaky guy that comes out and up and under the shell and into the, and she holds her tail to the side. Yeah.
Sure.
Boy,
Yeah,
do I
okay.
have some videos to show you.
Sorry.
Oh boy, have I been at the zoo volunteering when the tortoises were getting it on.
Oh no, I just
The
love there's
sound
videos of,
rumbles through the
little
pavement.
baby turtles humping people's shoes. It's a thing. It's a thing. I'll find one.
That's super cute. I'm just saying
So,
that the
I
full-size
got to
adult
share-
mating was something to behold at the zoo.
So I get to share vaporwave stuff, and you're sharing with me prehensile penis material. Sweet.
I did
good
not
trade.
bring up the topic.
I know, and we've been on the topic
that's
for
the
a
duck.
while.
That's the duck
Ducks. This is
thing.
the Argentinian lake duck.
Look, mallards do some things too. Like
Not
some
okay,
ducks
Sarah.
are terrible.
Also, oh yes, there's the Ig Nobel Awards that does like awards questionable science. One of them was the first homosexual necrophiliac duck rape flight. This duck researcher just
What?
happened to hear a big bang on his window, and it was duck. And then he went down to see if the duck was okay, and the duck was dead, but another duck was very okay with it being dead.
Yes. So that
Ducks.
happened.
Scientists are so like a normal person would be like, that's horrifying. Scientists are like, let me do a report on this.
He
Like,
watched it. He said he watched it for 30 minutes until he couldn't
For
take
science.
it anymore, and then he wrote an article about it.
right?
Yeah.
That's,
For science.
scientists are so freaking punk. Like,
I really, really considered becoming a marine biologist when I was in undergrad. Because remember, I went to school for biology. I really thought about it, and then my parents got me with the whole become a doctor or a lawyer thing. So I continued on, and then I ended up in life sciences as a regulatory affairs, very boring, and not involved with animals. But I also was offered an apprenticeship at Tigers in South Carolina. They're the conservation organization that also supplies the animal actors to a lot of movies. And so what they do is they take their apprentice and they match them up with one of their animals at the conservation. And your life is this animal 365 days a year, caring for it and also taking turns helping caring for the conservation area and all of the different enclosures. And I was accepted as an apprentice, and I was supposed to go down and like meet them, and they wanted me to be paired with one of the liger cubs. Now, if you've ever seen a liger, that was really cool. So baby Piper almost became a liger keeper instead of the Piper that you know today.
What happened?
I had a boyfriend. And 365 days a year with no vacation for 5 years was a bit much.
Oh,
and he was the
shit.
guy that I eventually married for 7 years and then got
Sorry.
divorced. But I mean, I don't regret the decision, but it is kind of a cool thing if you think about whether or not Baby Piper, like, because Baby Piper was also in very good athletic shape, like, would have become this partner to a liger. How cool would that have been?
That would have been amazing.
Okay,
Did
I'm
you see about that guy who's like married to a stork now?
No.
Oh, yes,
Let
I
Katee
did see that.
redirect us.
Katie,
I don't
I'm
know.
sorry,
I did
I'm
know about the
redirecting
stork.
us back to
Yes.
So
thank
back
you.
Merits.
to resonance.
Well, also merits and flaws. So Jenny
Yes.
had asked about what the points do, and it really just depends on it really just talks about like how advantageous said advantage is, or how much
Weird.
of a
I
flaw.
didn't see that in the core book. But maybe.
So this is going to
Yeah,
be
the merits
on
and
page
flaws is a little bit-
179. It starts on
Mhm.
179, right? And so you picked beautiful. You have two spots. that you gave to looks beautiful, and therefore, because of that, you do add 1 extra die to all appropriate social dice pools. Now,
I see.
what all appropriate means is up to you to convince me, right? Like, what social dice pool. So if you look up at your skills, social attributes, charisma, manipulation, and composure. So you can add an extra die to that.
Okay.
Right? When you roll on something, when I say, hey, roll an attribute plus a skill, if one of them is a social, you get to add an extra die because it looks beautiful.
Okay. I should make a note for myself.
Oh, wait.
Get it? I'm hearing, oh.
Well, no, I just, like...
When it comes to enemies, we know you have enemies. That's more for me to know that you have the enemy, and I might bring it up and do something with that in story. And that lets me know approximately what level of enemy that you have.
I think that was one I had to add for my predator type, maybe?
Yeah.
What's your predator type?
Osiris.
What's that mean?
Pete, they come to me.
Yeah, they do.
It's like, now the story of Osiris
I have my
is
cult
one.
following, and they line up to volunteer.
The mythology story of Osiris is one that we'll need to become familiar with, because that might come into play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Folkloric Bane is a fun one, a mythic folkloric Bane. So one of the, in that case, so something you take aggravated damage from, right? So you probably need to tell me what folkloric Bane you have issue with. Does silver work on you? Ultraviolet light, does that work on you? Holy water, does that work on you? Like, pick one.
Okay, so I should specify.
Jenny or all of us?
Specify, yeah.
And
Because
do
otherwise
I want
I could just say,
3
hey,
dots there? Okay.
right? Like,
I
so
didn't know what the 3 dots did, so I just put them there.
You only
Okay.
need 2. Oh yeah, you have an extra because of Alley Cat. Yeah, so you just need 1 in each one, or you could have just picked 2 and put 2 pips or 2 dots in one of the flaws.
Okay.
Oh,
Right.
I see.
So
Is this folkloric Bane on your character sheet?
yeah,
Okay.
Wait, do we all have a folklore?
no,
was like,
she picked it as
I'll-
a
Just
Oh.
Jenny.
She
It was
picked it as
one
a
I
flaw.
had to do because of my predator type, and then I added dots to it
Oh,
because
okay.
I didn't really know what else to add them to. So.
Oh, and you shouldn't add dots to flaws, right? Because that'll be hard.
I mean,
or
you
could
could if it makes sense for your character. So, like,
Right.
if you have, like...
Okay.
Which, now that makes sense. Yeah, so, like, mine is I don't feed on kids, and I have a dark secret.
Mhm.
But they each have 1 dot, so...
So it's not like hugely impactful. Here's the thing about flaws.
But now I'm like, should I have 2 dots on that dark secret? I think that might make more sense.
Maybe you could tell us what it is, and we'll give you
Nope.
some advice.
No, it's
No.
Nope. That's no fun.
No.
Everybody's allowed to have their secrets.
I'm sure it'll come out.
I do think, considering how deeply it could impact storyline, that 2 makes more sense, Katie.
Okay. Cool. I didn't really think about, like, obviously that makes sense, so I will fix that in my character
Yeah.
sheet.
So in any case, getting back to flaws, we are all authors, and we all understand how important it is to have a balanced, not overpowered character, which means you gotta have flaws to balance yourself. And you all, being authors, have a better feel for it then. So don't think about it would be easier or harder to play this character in combat. Think about it more of how much more interesting of a story will it be.
Well, in the one character building video that I'd watch, she's like, yeah, my character is a dancer who does this. And so she has a stalker because that makes sense for the character. So we're going to put 2 dots that stalker is probably going to show up periodically. And if I kill them, another stalker will show up. And it was like, oh, that makes sense with like the character she built. So it's a little less like random. Like I picked the
Yeah.
feeding bloodhound because my person is like a sniffer. And so it made sense for her to want to be able to like sniff, but like to tell resonance on people, which like I said, we'll circle to resonance, I hope. But
Yes.
but like that made sense for the character built, I hope.
Yes. So does that help you understand a little bit more about merits and flaws? Like you
Yeah,
don't
for
need
sure.
7 merits. You just need a couple of merits and distribute 7 points between them.
Yep.
Yeah, I
I'll
had
have
that
to- I'm
part. I
going
just didn't know
to-
what the extra dots were doing, but now I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2 resonance. hold your question. Unless it has to do, I just cut you off. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Unless it has to do with something before we move on to resonance.
Well, I did notice, because I need to update the backgrounds, merits, and flaws section anyways. I noticed that all of your guys's, all y'all's character sheets are different from mine. I must have used the second one that was shared or something like that. So I'll make that transition over here in the next couple of days and re-upload it with an updated merits and flaws section is all I was going to say.
Okay, I can go with either one. I just put both player sheets up there to see which one you liked better.
I just picked the first one I clicked on, but it's bothering my soul that mine is the only one that's different. So there's no symmetry to it. It doesn't feel right.
All right. So here's the thing about resonance. Let me grab the appropriate spot.
Phlegmatic.
Yeah, phlegmatic is a little gross to me, but so resonance, according to the core book, I'm going to read this first, which you've probably read, but just for all of our benefit, is a blood type is expressed via resonance, and unless looking only for survival or fuel, a drinker should care what prey they feed from and how. Should have preferences. Vampires drink blood. Mortals eat food. Resonance flavors the blood, turning the drink into a dining experience. Okay? So it's not about genetics. So you're not looking for type A, type B positive. It's more about it's more of a combination of the vessel's temperament and their state of mind at the moment that they're being fed on. Right? And this gets into like Anne Bishop's The Others and like a couple of other storytelling things that I think dark fantasy wise. So if someone is a get off my lawn grumpy person, they're going to have a certain kind of maybe tannins flavor to them, a little bit gritty. And then if you catch said grumpy Clint Eastwood get off my lawn and you make him terrified before you feed him, feed on him, it will have an amazing distinct flavor that you could become rather attached to. And so you may decide to find more victims and put them of that same temperament and put them in that same state of mind before you feed on them. So you start to, types of hunters will look for these types of people. I like to say in my books, I have a character who, actually in my upcoming contemporary fantasy, she's a Kinari, right? Like, so she's not human, she's Kinari. And when my vampire hero feeds on her, it's kind of like an energy drink. And it's a little on the effervescent side. And he recognizes that this is problematic. Not just because he found it delightful, but because others would too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, different people, changelings, fae, would potentially have a different impact if you drank on them than human, right? So, like, I think they did that in True Blood.
Yes.
Right?
Was just thinking that.
Yeah. So, think of it as a person's personality or temperament type, whether you like someone who's vivacious and full of life and full of energy, and then you decide to make them scared, or you decide to make them happy. Take a vivacious, full of life, and then put her right at the edge of climax, and then feed on her as she's climaxing. And that may be a vintage that is quite the experience.
So how does
Which
that...
type would that be? Sorry, Katee.
No,
Jenny's like,
Well, no, I'm
same,
just
same question though, because like that's where we
sheet.
saw resonance before, right? Was under the powers. So
Wait,
is
yeah.
that, do our powers influence what kind of resonance we're attracted to, or do we just okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Mine got
Then
a
I need to
sign.
write that down.
Mine
Yeah.
is phlegmatic, and I didn't think my character would want phlegmatic, but it was, I forget what made it be that, but it was
Auspex,
determined.
maybe.
So there is a table that's handy for all of you on page
Looking for
226.
Okay.
Right? So phlegmatic, for example,
Oh, there we go. Okay.
is related to the element of water. Its Jungian function is intuition. The hormone that provides it, theoretically, is the pituitary gland. The hormone, whatever. Anyway, and the emotions and conditions that phlegmatic is related to is lazy, apathetic, calm, controlling sentimental. Like a lot of you have the phlegmatic situation going on. So these are the 4 humors, which is also kind of gross if you read it.
So for like Oblivion, since that's not in the book, it says the resonance is the total lack of resonance, such as psychopaths and those without emotional attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that actually
kind of, or
that works.
That
actually
kind of vibes with you anyway.
Yeah, I was like, that works quite well actually. I'm gonna write this down because
Which one was that, Katie?
Because I'm a Hecata.
Yeah,
God, by the end of this, I will be able to pronounce my clan properly. But
I'm gonna look for pronunciations on that. Like, is it Hecata or Hakata? I just don't want to call you a cicada, you know?
Right. But because Oblivion is my like power because of that clan, and that's not in the book because it's like a whatever. That apparently is the resonance for Oblivion.
It's in the Chicago one.
Yeah, I got on the White Wolf wiki, so like that's enough to like get the info I need for this. But I'm compiling like a document with like all the notes on like what to roll for stuff because I don't want to have to be flipping through things and hoping for the best.
Oh,
I should do
what
that
to roll
too.
for stuff? Like, so I'm hoping Piper will tell me what to roll for stuff.
Mostly I will. But
yeah,
I appreciate when you keep notes like, oh, that's right, I have this merit that gives me a plus, blah, blah, blah. Try to keep a little note somewhere.
What page was resonance on?
No problem. Page 226. I know I've been there,
but... 26?
Also, I know I said I had to bail early. I'm going to bail now. I love you all very much. We're going to chat. Bye.
Bye.
Are you meeting next week or 2 weeks later?
2 weeks.
Okay.
So, don't worry, we're still here.
Yeah. Okay. And then celerity and fortitude. So I got melancholy and cleric.
Yep. So melancholy has to do with emotions, conditions: sad, scared, intellectual, depressed, and grounded. So it's like
that makes sense. So she's a grad student. She's like, "You're smart. What's up? I'm gonna eat you."
Like, especially if you're a grad student that's in the middle of a philosophical debate, like. That's quite the intellectual component right there.
Oh, man.
So I think that helps a little bit.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense because I just, like, I'd seen it listed and then I was like, I don't really understand, like, that. But, like, so that's cool. So my chick's just like, I can smell you and you're exactly what smells delicious to me.
And a note that they have here is that there are animal humors as well, which Gabriel will have to pay attention to. When it comes to the pets. So Gabriel and I will have to work a little bit on the animal aspects. Apparently there's, lustful cats and rabbits.
I mean, that makes sense.
It does.
They do the deed.
Faithful dogs are phlegmatic. Ravenous wolves are choleric.
I feel like I could go 2 different ways with it for my character because on the one hand, I think like sanguine feels obvious in the sense of like horny, happy, addicted, whatever. But I think there is this side of it where it's like, he wants that power and like people to kind of cower before him. So
you also have both celerity and aspects, which means you could go choleric or phlegmatic.
Also presence.
Or yeah.
And you have presence as well, which means you could go sanguine. You're right. You've got quite the choices.
Yeah. I think this is probably why I got confused.
So with that, is it like we pick one resonance out of the available to us, or it's just those particular ones appeal to us, like the 3 or 2 or whatever?
Those particular ones appeal to you, but probably the one that you have the most disciplines in is the one that calls to you the most.
Oh, that makes sense. I just want to murder up sociopaths. Come and get it.
They would probably look at it as an intellectual exercise. Competition.
Okay, and if I'm celerity heavy, that's where I should go versus one of the others, probably?
Probably.
Okay.
Re-looking at all of the resonances I think I'm actually probably more melancholic than phlegmatic.
Isn't it phlegmatic?
Phlegmatic, sorry. I said it right the
Or is it
first time.
phlegmatic?
No, I don't think you pronounced the G.
That's one I would get to narrating and be like, fuck.
God damn it. Yeah,
Phlegmatic.
that's me too. Oh, man. And actually, I feel pretty lucky. I've got another short story on deck for narration that I know how to pronounce everything in there,
Congrats.
including the tteokbokki. And they're like, they spent a lot of time explaining to me how to say tteokbokki, but because I eat it a lot and I watch a lot of K-drama, I got that. Tteokbokki.
Yeah.
Leave it to me to know the snacks.
It tracks.
Oh, I do have a question after we're done with residents. I have one last question and then I'm done with the questions.
No, it's fine. Keep going.
So on like the blood surge and mend amount and power bonus and that feeding penalty and bane severity, what are the numbers that go there?
Leave it for now.
Okay.
We won't run into it yet.
Cool.
So
I was just like, that's a blank spot, and I don't
but
actually know
blood
what those
potency
are.
should be 1. Who had 3?
No, sorry, blood surge.
Oh yeah, but
Maybe I looked at it wrong. I think it was Gabriel's, and I was like, do you get extra blood potency for something? But it's totally possible I was just scanning
oh
through
yeah,
too many.
Gabriel does have 3 in blood potency. I'll have to talk to Gabriel to find out what that was about. That was an
He's
oops.
got secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an oops. He gets extra humanity because of the fact that he's not feeding on people, etc. Because I think your humanity started at 8, and then somebody went down to 7. I think it was Sarah's character goes down to 7. But yeah, blood potency, I'll need to talk to him about why. It may be because of his specific character. I'll have to look it up.
Okay.
But yeah. Ooh. Does that kind of help? Do you feel a little better about everything? Also,
Yeah.
your character sheets are not like gonna make or break you in this
No.
game. Like
No.
I said, it's not about is the game gonna be harder or is the game gonna be easier. It's more about
course.
this is a tool to tell a story together.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
We're gonna get reasonably twisted. in
Oh,
the
I think
story.
I gave myself a firearm skill, but like, if I don't have a firearm or I'm not going to get a firearm, I probably wouldn't give. Like, how do I get a firearm?
I would just
like if you came
potentially
across
give you
it.
one. Yeah, seeing that you have the skill,
Buy
I
it.
would potentially give you either. I would potentially create a situation where you would acquire one, or you could tell me like we got to stop at a place to get armed up.
Okay.
Yeah, like I have one in firearms, but it's like in my head, it's like hunting rifles because she did rich people hunting, and so she's like knows her way around a skew. But like she could probably work a handgun, but that's like not her like
Pull.
experience. Yeah, exactly. Like she did a lot of that. Read Nikki Sloan.
Fair.
Oh,
That's,
that just put a new spin on your character for me.
It's like, It will be interesting because I might be like, does anybody know how to drive? This could be funny.
Not me. Yeah, it was interesting building because like she has some melee because I figure she took self-defense classes and stuff.
Fair. I think I remember the first time you and I talked about hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah,
That was fun.
my listen, don't ask me what the names of anything is. She can do little like fisticuffs.
Some fisticuffs.
She would never call it fisticuffs. She would never, absolutely never call it that.
This is gonna be so much fun.
I'm very excited.
Actually, Jenny, I'm curious. Your person doesn't do technology at all. No cell phones?
Oh. Did I just skip that? Oh, that like.
Because in skills, you don't have any science or technology.
Yeah, I mean, I think to some extent that feels beneath him. Like he is a god. Gods don't have to use cell phones. Gods have minions to use cell phones.
Because you are old enough that
So
the advent of the cell phone may not have been a major thing.
can we not use cell phones if we don't have technology?
Yeah, that isn't how that felt to me. I thought that was like if you had a
No.
particular level of skill with that thing. Like,
Hmm.
I don't think my character has anything for medicine either, but he knows how to like apply a band-aid.
Hmm.
Does he though?
I will give you.
I could nitpick this particular thing for every single skill on there, and then we'll run into a problem.
Well, just the technology in particular, because they're so, like, most of us are so newly turned, the not being able to use a cell phone
stuff.
would not, yeah, like she's not going to be hacking anything, but she could, like, you know, use her,
yeah,
well, her this, because she...
That's fair. Like, you could make a call, that's fine. You could even send texts, that's fine. But when it comes to, like, setting up your D&D, your Do Not Disturb, or setting up alarms, or setting up apps that lock you out of social media, or installing apps and things like that, you're going to have to hand your phone to somebody else.
No, darling, I just turned it off. That's far too ridiculous. Who needs all those gadgets?
I'll tell you what, I'll give you all a baseline of what my dad can do with a phone. Like, my actual real life dad. If my dad in real life can do it, then you can do it baseline without a dot in technology.
You know what's cracking me up is the guy that I sent pictures of, who I was like, this is the vibe, the just like club fuckboy vibe. There was a night where we were at like a party together, and he like interrupted a scene. I was flogging someone, and he like stepped in and like made it this whole flamboyant thing where he wanted to be the center of attention, and I got really pissed about it. And then this was like him flirting for somehow, and he like asked for my number, but I didn't have anywhere to put a phone. Like, I wasn't carrying a phone, and he didn't have his phone because he was in a costume, and there was this back and forth of like who it was. Like, it was beneath me to take his number, like I wasn't going to be responsible for it, but he was like, well, I'm not gonna, like, I have too many people reach out to me, like I'm not gonna get in touch with you. And I was like, well, then I guess it's not happening then.
No.
Yeah,
exactly, like he had a bad strategy for that situation.
Sorry, and it never did. That was your chance.
Did he
Listen,
even have
you started off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
But the like phone being beneath you vibe is definitely in character here, where it's like, why would I carry a phone? Like, if somebody needs me, they'll come to me.
Yeah, if they don't know where to find me, then they don't need to talk to me.
Yeah.
Although, where to put your phone in costumes, the struggle is real. I have been in enough steampunk costumes where I've been like, unfortunately, I am built in such a way that my corsets can probably stuff a cat in there, much less my phone. It's just a question of being able to slide it in and slide it out, which I can totally do, and it not show up in photos. So, I come with my own storage system, even if it's not a pocket.
Fair.
All right, so sorry, I'm redirecting us again because my kid keeps texting me. No, is there, and we'll figure out Haven later, and obviously weapons and all of that stuff later. Yep. Okay, cool.
Weapons will come as the story goes.
Okay,
so that's pretty much it, right? Like, in the Chronicle Tenet, is that just something we kind of decide as a group at some point, or?
Yeah, once you have a coterie, if you decide to form a coterie, you'll come up with a Chronicle Tenet. Or it'll just kind of organically come together as you start to learn the scenarios that you're being faced with, and how you decide which one, like what you decide to do.
There's not supposed to be any Chronicle Tenets right now. I was going through a like basic guide of how to fill this out near the beginning, and they gave me like 3 like really generic ones that they said are common starters. So I put all 3 of those down. Should I remove those?
I mean, you can add them in your notes, and I'm not going to be mad at you. But
They're
will
super
ignore
generic.
them. I'm like, I will ignore them.
Okay, then there's no point in having them. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, the Chronicle Tenets definitely will be more along the lines of it will come out of your story as your coterie, and all decide amongst yourselves, like, hey, some ground rules here. Right? Like, for example, one of the things that came up, and this wasn't even Vampire the Masquerade, right? Like, this was Eric, D&D homebrew. Just the nature of the characters as we all started interacting with each other. Like, there were things where I was like, no touchy the touchy. No touchy the touchy. Right? And we had the Huggy Hurt Club. Because if you hugged Tachi, who was an echidna, you would take damage from her spines. If you hugged Oyakoza, she was a poison-skinned frog. So you'd take poison damage.
Worth it.
And if you hugged Umantra, she was death-cursed. So you would actually take points of necrotic damage. Like, so the 3 of us were the hurdy huggy club. Like, if you hug us, you're taking damage.
That's funny.
So it became kind of a tenet in the group, like no huggy, no touchy, no touchy, no touchy. And then for combat, we'd be like, hello! Right? So you'll find that the Chronicle tenets, or my intent for this game is that your Chronicle tenets will come up organically as your game develops. You'll sort of amongst each other start saying shit like that.
Yeah.
And that's a Chronicle tenet. Especially if you're the originator of that. Like, it'll just be something that, like, somebody blurts out and everybody's like, okay, fine. That's a rule. That's a rule, right? Like, no capybaras. That starts to happen.
Oh.
Right.
I don't know. I've been really baiting.
Is he doing the capybara, or
I have
is that
no
just...
idea.
I'm gonna be so sad if it doesn't happen. Like, after all this, all the pictures and the videos and like everything shared in the Discord, I'm like,
I mean, the Twitter feed has already like started sending it. Do you know that there's a Twitter called the Capybara Man? Like endless material to go on with the capybara situation, but yeah. I don't know if Gabriel's gonna go with the capybara. Gabriel did tweet that no capybaras will be actually hurt in real life. I don't know what's gonna happen in game.
I've got pictures somewhere of me roasting and eating guinea pig. I've been meaning to dig it up. It's not capybara, but it sure looks like a capybara when it's being roasted.
Capybaras are basically giant guinea pigs.
Was it good?
I imagine it would be.
There's like not much
they're very
meat on
lean,
it.
right?
Like you pretty much cook it and then you just like cut it into fourths and hold a little leg and like gnaw the meat off of it.
It's
And
kinda
there's
like eating
just not.
squirrel.
It's sort of like stringy, muscly meat.
Yeah.
I bet you almost anything if you made a stew with it, like squirrel or rabbit, like a pot pie or something where there's a bit of gravy kind of going on.
Yeah.
And maybe you used something that was less lean for flavor, like bacon or pork belly. It could balance that out and also help deal with the gaminess.
Yeah.
My brother had a lot of friends who actually did some hunting, and the house rule was they could bring it and I would cook it for them, but they had to field dress it before they brought it to my home.
Yeah.
Because I lived in like suburbia, and I was not hanging stuff in my garage to field dress it outside before bringing it in. So I got a lot of.
You take all that
braces.
stuff out on the field. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I got a lot of
Yeah.
braces of rabbits. I did win a friend in college $50 because they were like, "Oh, you can't find a girl who will eat squirrel."
who won't eat squirrel? It's not even
Come
that
on.
adventurous.
It's not, and he had a good brace of squirrels to make a decent stew. Pretty much anything tastes good in a good stew if you season it properly.
Oh yeah.
I think that's about it. Does anybody have any other
Yeah.
questions about
So
characters?
2 weeks from now on
November
Wednesday.
10th, I believe that is.
I don't know why I'm looking at my watch as if it's going to tell me.
Yeah, it's November
Yeah.
10th,
Seems legit.
Wednesday,
2 weeks
6
from
p.m.
now.
And we will come
Mere
with a little
days
bit more
before I
serious.
see you,
Like,
Piper.
what?
Do you want us to show up early, like 15 minutes early, to get the, or like, did we talk? I don't remember. Did we talk about showing up early so that we could record and do the full recording time?
How much is that going to mess people up?
Oh, I don't know. We could ask the Discord, I guess.
I'm
well-
at the mercy of Chris's work schedule. So like today he had a call that didn't end till 6. So like you pushing it back, I would have been like high-fiving him as he took over with the kids. But some days it's not as bad, and like to some extent I don't really know. So I can like
I'm not going to
try,
hold the
but-
6. I don't think you have to be there 30 minutes prior, but if you can be here 5 minutes prior, that would be
Yeah.
cool. I'll have the Zoom open, I'll have OBS open, and we'll be recording. And I think once we get into like kind of a groove, our households will also get used to the fact that we are doing the thing. So that,
We'll
although
see.
that'll be like January, February, I think November 10th is also the last time that we're playing this year, because the following week Cooper and I are in Salt Lake City with Gabriel and Dan Wells, and ridiculousness is going to happen. Then there's Thanksgiving the following week, and then December, which we also said, like, because of holidays and everything, doesn't make sense to game. I'm open.
God, that's coming up fast.
Right? I'm freaking
like
out a little
that.
bit, because also I'm going to be in Egypt in December, so I can't even. Like, my brain's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to be in Egypt.
say hi to Osiris for me.
Right?
I know, right? I hope I'm gonna be in Egypt. Like, knock on wood, everything goes okay. Yeah. So that's it. We can end up
Sweet.
early here. And I mean, if we ever post this to YouTube, there's just a whole lot of tangential hanky-panky and anatomy discussions.
I think it works as essentially bonus content though, because it's like, I feel like these 3 episodes kind of got a lot of the, like, we know how to talk to each other now, like, or it got like the nervous jitters of like, this is a new person that I have never talked to, or maybe
I've worked through 6 of the obligatory 40 hours of any new relationship in which I'm just awkward as hell. Yeah.
You're not awkward at all in this one, so you must have like lightning speeded through some of the phases.
Wait, do we mean this episode specifically? Because that's because I haven't been talking very much.
No, I mean like in general, through all of the episodes, I haven't felt that you've been awkward at all.
Well, thank you. I
feel like part of that's because like some of us know each other and some of us know each other, so there's like the comfort of like it's not all new people. I feel like we've melded good.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with how things are going so far.
It'll be fun.
When we get into character, things are going to get real funny. I can feel it already.
I think so. Are you all feeling pretty comfortable with the level of where we're communicating offline? Like where to find information and stuff like that. The channels that I have in the Discord and the Google file folders that I have you dropping stuff like your character sheets into.
Yeah, I think you're doing a really nice job, Piper.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for organizing. No.
Okay. No. Yeah. I turned my Discord notifications off.
Yeah,
so I just
it's kind of constant.
When I like can go like focus on it, but that's I do that regularly, so I just catch up when I go.
Yeah, that's what I have on my phone.
What was the thing that you use to schedule, like figure out what all of our Doodle? Okay.
Yeah, that's called Doodle. It's really good for groups.
Like, yeah, I need to wrangle a group of people, and I was like, how the hell am I going to schedule this? And then I was like, Piper made it really easy.
Yeah, the Doodle thing, like setting it up takes you a couple minutes, but after that.
That's what I use for my other that's what the GM on my other D&D does as well as Doodle.
Can I just
Dan
tell
Evanson
you?
from
Dan
WXR.
Evanson.
Yeah.
I remember. No, can I just tell you, I was working with Bonnie Murdoch. She was giving me tips about GMing because she was really generous with her time. And she showed me what she does because she's a professional GM. People pay her to GM their games. And she has these awesome, like, Google sites set up for her players and stuff. And I was like, oh. And then I was telling Katee, I was like, maybe that's overwhelming for our group. We don't need that. But definitely was really cool to take a look through how she does that and sets up all this info. And I was like,
I do have one last question before we should one or multiple of us be taking notes as we play based on like information that we like, characters and crap that we encounter. Should we have like some record of that?
We mean for like an overall synopsis, you mean?
Or just like we should have like a note taker or something, just so that like, because is there stuff that's going to crop up, like, because if there's like a reoccurring character, I cannot guarantee I will not forget them. Right. And so
I was just going to take notes because that's my nature.
Okay.
So I was going to, I don't know if I'll necessarily write down everything that you would want me to write down, but I'll write down a lot.
I feel like, yeah. Well, I mean, I plan on doing some notes at least, just because I'm a doodler anyways. But like, I thought I should ask, because I know, because D&D TikTok's like, oh, the note taker in the group, and I'm like, somebody should be taking notes. That's probably a good idea.
Fair. I mean, that is fair. I noticed that Mari takes on her Google site that she maintains for her players, she has like a per session like paragraph synopsis of what happened, and then key people that the players met, right, and location that they were in.
I just don't want to create more work for you if we don't have to, because you're already shouldering like a lot of it, like all of it.
That's a good question, because I also didn't like. I really want this to be fun for everyone, and everybody want to continue this. So I don't want to give too much to anybody, because this is our creative outlet, like our fun time, our hobby, right? Like all of us are professional something else, if not maintaining 2 careers, right? And then this is a fun thing, and I didn't want to add too much, but
We could
if
take
somebody,
turns.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, from the notes, if somebody wants to say, hey, each episode, I'm looking for like a 1-paragraph summary of what happened. Could be from your character's point of view if you want. You know, and the location of location isn't as important because we're not dungeon diving, right? But
Right, but I feel like if there's
NPCs
like
that you interacted
restaurants, you've mentioned restaurant, like if there's like actual locations that we're going to be recurring to,
with, yeah,
I for my notes, it'd probably be like characters that we encounter, any pertinent information that seems like a thing that like will come back to bite us in the ass later, and like like locations that we will return to,
yeah,
because it'll be like, hey, that noodle place, like what was that called again? I don't, because like my character would remember that, so I should probably know that as the person playing the character.
right.
I
So
suppose I can
locations like that.
unofficially just take up this role, just because I was going to mostly do it anyways. And if there's anything that specifically that you want me to write down, like while the session's happening, just like send me a ping and I'll write it down.
Yeah,
Cool.
that would be cool. Thank you, Cooper.
Okay.
And
And if you ever want to like take a break from it, let us know and we can, you know.
Sure.
switch off.
I do this for another campaign I'm in anyways. I'm the designated note taker because mostly out of necessity, because whenever they do it, I can't follow it. It's not articulate at all. So I have to do it just so things make sense.
Fair.
I empathize with that from a day job perspective because I'm always taking notes, even though like people are like, why don't you have, you know, your junior person who's learning from you take notes? And I'm like, I'm teaching them to, but then I send them mine so they can see what they didn't take.
They're gonna do it wrong. Yeah.
Nothing wrong, just so they can have an example of what else might have been able to be captured, or in what detail, or what's important. In the case of you, Cooper, yeah, NPCs that are encountered, or locations that seem like important that you would potentially return to again, and any Chekhov's guns.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, cool. I'm glad I asked that.
That will come in handy for a lot of us. And then just a question of where you would put it. I can create a folder, and you can just put them as text files in there.
Or it would probably be best to, how about
It's like a
Discord?
running
Because that's what I do with the other one, is I just put it in Discord.
And a channel.
We just have like a notes channel that,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can create a text channel for that. I will probably want it in Google Drive over time as an archive, but like it can go mostly in the text channel.
Well, and one of us can transfer it over pretty easily. It's just a copy and paste and like a little bit of formatting. So
yeah, it's not a big. Although I will say that Typecast RPG does do a newsletter with the episode summary, but that may be too far. We'll have to see if we actually have an audience that would be interested in that kind of thing.
yeah, let's cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I think the notes for us internally is really where this has the most importance.
Sweet.
All right.
Cool.
That was a good question. All right. I think that's all we got right now. We can probably wrap it early. And it was really good to see all of you.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
chat with
Yeah,
you.
totally.
And tell the
Looking
fun
forward to
stories.
starting this.
I am too. Oh my gosh, I'm so into starting this. I'm also super nervous and kind of glad I have a little extra time to set up what I have planned. Because Mari also showed me how she keeps ideas for jamming in a Trello board.
Oh, that's good.
I'm geeking out so hard right now.
That's good. Yeah.
I mean, I use Trello for a lot of things. So
do I.
being able
I
to
love
use
Trello.
Trello for GM. Yes. See?
I don't use it for jamming though. That's a great idea.
I'll show you what she showed me if you want.
Yeah, please do. Because I'm currently homebrewing what is essentially Final Fantasy crossed with One Piece, like Sky Pirates campaign. So, yeah.
That's very cool. All right. Let's call it.
Okay,
I'm gonna
cool.
stop recording.